Good afternoon, good morning to some of you. Welcome to another episode of First Sip. I'm actually working on my custom coffee mugs and that you'll be able to order as well. But it's a work in progress. Got a lot of things in progress, like a lot of you all with your ideas and creativity. And I would say to you to keep on going when you're writing, talking, thinking, write your ideas down. I got like tons of notebooks of dabble, scribble, scrabble, and all these ideas will eventually manifest into something. But just keep it up. If you got an idea, move on it. I know a lot of times when I'm sleeping, if I'm tossing and turning, it is my brain's way of saying, wake up, I've got something to say to you. So I'll jump up and start writing, drawing, take pictures, whatever it is that I'm called to do, because that's your creative spirit telling you something. Sometimes it's the Lord telling you something. Sometimes it's both. But I find out when I can't sleep to get up and get busy, get my mind moving. And even after 12, 13 hours of driving, sometimes I still find I can't go to sleep. So I work on some projects little by little, and they're starting to come to fruition. And I'm going to continue to share them. So, I'll keep you all posted. So I'm doing this one today off of YouTube because I'm going to start posting there and then sharing those on my Facebook page, because it's come to my attention that some people in my circle are somewhat interested in what we discuss, but don't necessarily like to use Facebook. So I'm trying to attempt to do both. And as always, I'll continue to evolve, as all of us should. So real quick, the message today and the thought today is, again, with our buddy, we've been trying to come up with names for Donald Trump and Mr. Whatever, it's hard calling him President Trump, but I saw someone refer to him as 45. I forget who you are, but I like that. We'll just call you 45. But the recent comments he made about Frederick Douglass, about he's going to do great things, and how do I say this? Again, we all know why he got elected, and again, I got to remain hopeful and optimistic because the majority of America did not vote for him. The populace did not. So it's just where our system's set up. He got in on a technicality. So with that being said, though, those people who voted for him wholeheartedly voted for him because they believe his thought process and what he says and what he stands for. And any intelligent person could see and listen to this man say that he doesn't stand for anything good other than himself, his own agenda, and his own views, which nothing wrong with your own views as long as you're not hurtful and incite negative feelings towards people on purpose. So that's what Donald Trump, number 45, that's what he does. That's what he's done. That's what he's shown me. This new alternative facts in the news, people trying to twist things. Well, that has been the American history. Twisted facts, alternative facts, especially when it comes to Black history, as we are in Black History Month now. But as a lot of you know, and we all celebrate Black history every day, if you're Black. So, but it's the evolution of, I guess, no notice and no teaching to growing it into a national understood treasure that the African American people are, and how we go about and how we've come in our path. So that's all important. I do know that I've noticed that a lot of my non-African American friends, whether they be Latino or Caucasian or whatever, are starting to hold on and starting to grip this, and they're starting to actually come to terms with what racism in America means. And of course, you say racism, and most of them right away say, I'm not a racist. That's probably true for most of them. I really do mean that. Especially the people that I know. And I continue to travel the country, meet good folks all over the place, all walks of life. Good Christian white folks, good Christian Muslim folks, good Jewish folks, good folks, period. So, people say, why do we have labels? Well, because people do like to identify with something that suits them and what is near to their heart. So African Americans, it means something. And I do know, I'm 47 years old, growing up in school in the 70s and going through the 80s and the 90s, the transformation of Black folks from being called slaves to niggers to Negroes to colored folks to everything in between to African Americans, what we nationally settled on. I guess that was sometime in the 70s. And a lot of people say, I'm not African. Well, yes, you are. In fact, we all are. Everybody on this planet. The original man has come from, the origins are Africa. Scientists have proven that. So if you don't believe me, if you don't believe the scientists when it comes to discovery of humans and fossils and bones on this planet, then everything you know in science and life, discard it, throw it out the window. Okay. So with that being said, real quick, why we hyphenate American when we're African Americans, because it's an attempt, and I want you to hear this, for those of you who don't know it. It was an attempt for black folks to retrace and re-grab our heritage and our history, which, as we know, as we were taken from Africa as forced into slavery, not slave. The word enslaved means we were taken against our will. So what happened is that is this recording? Okay, sorry. It was an attempt to connect with our African heritage, and of course that was very difficult because there's no records, not good records, and so many tribes and so many lives and millions of lives over hundreds of years, and even into America, the Jim Crow era continued on for hundreds of years as well. So, when I hear people talk about Irish slaves, I know they were Irish slaves, but they were indentured slaves, and under no circumstances they suffer like Africans did, and eventually they were incorporated into the American life as white folks. It's the truth. We're black folks with brown skin, black skin, what have you, and Latinos, and Jews to some extent, were still subjugated. Still. Even up to, like I said, 1964, I could not go into a restaurant and sit at the sandwich counter. So just a little brief history on that, to why it's important that we hyphenate ourselves in America as African Americans. And I know a lot of white folks, Joe, you're American. I'll say this to you and I'll say it again. Americanism is an idea. It's not a culture. It is a culture. It's a culture mixed up with a lot of different cultures and ideologies. So every nationality, except for ours, has been represented in a proud manner, and that's what we are doing today. So this is why we talk about reparations. To me, the greatest reparation will be for our American history books to be rewritten in the correct way, and I'm sure they were going to be. We're going to see to that. So that we embolden ourselves and our young people to feel a sense of pride in where they came from and where they're doing and where they're going in life, what we're doing now. That's the challenge at hand. So we are working on that. So I think anybody can understand being proud of who you are and where you came from. And black folks weren't just slaves. That is not the beginning of the origin of black folks. It's not. It is a tragic and dark part of our history, but that's okay. You have to be able to revisit things to learn from them so you don't repeat them. So going forward, again, some of the divisions that we have in our society and in America, white folks, the white privilege statement, which makes a lot of y'all uncomfortable too, it's not a slander. It's a truth of living in a system that has thrived on division and racism, and capitalism has been the main motor for that, but it separated it, divided and conquered us. So, over hundreds of years of being told you're better than someone else, your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, your granddaughter, all those people on down, believe that to some extent. Whereas you were the person who were the enslaved people, had your culture stripped, your language stripped, and everything else, and tortured and beaten and humiliated, all kind of negative things, inhumane things have happened to our ancestors, told that you were nothing. Eventually, that's what you start to believe. So, feeling of like you are out of place in America is a common feeling for black folks, at least in my era, and I'm certain my parents, because that's what they were taught and that's what they were subjected to. So that whole term, white privilege, does not mean you're a bad person. It just means the system that we still function under today still exists, and it exists without you thinking about it. And therein lies the problem. Without you thinking about it, just assuming something is all right with me, it causes a disconnect. But I am encouraged. So some of you are reaching out and reconnecting and understanding that. And we talk about that. So that in a nutshell, we have work to do. We're working on it. We've come a long way and we got a lot further to go. But I'm certain we will get there together. So with that being said, hope you have a wonderful, productive day. Stay safe out there. I got to go to work. I got to make the donuts. Peace and blessings.